want to thank all of you for coming, for joining our webinar today. We are with Jahia Solutions, and want to talk specifically about financial services and insurance, which is a vertical that we've actually had a lot of success in, and just kind of discuss some talking points about why we've been successful, and maybe get to a conversation where we can discuss Jahia being the right solution for you guys to address digital. So. My name is Kevin Fanwasi. I run alliances and channel sales in the Americas. I believe we also have Chris Field. He is in charge of pre-sales for North America, so he'll be helping me out in the QA section. So, jumping right into it, talk about some trends in digital marketing. So obviously, I would assume most of you know about the use of data, personalization, security, privacy, mobile. Those are definitely some of the, most pressing items for you to address to keep pace in the market. But, there's also some other things such as AR and VR. It seems like I can't go to a conference these days without some vendor having a demonstration about, virtual reality or augmented reality. And then, of course, chatbots, immersive video and immersive marketing, even wearables. I mean, I currently have my banking app on my watch. So it's, the market is getting kind of crazy and the number of channels seems to be growing exponentially. We can't even stay ahead of it because it seems like there's always some new channel coming out. Specifically for the FSI sector, obviously you guys are spending a lot on digital to meet these sales goals and also to attract and retain customers. Customer experience is now a major focus for FSI marketers, not just about having a physical brick and mortar bank on every corner, for example. And then, of course, mobile. Mobile is taking priority over desktop. I mean, everybody now is doing things on their phones and their tablets. So, you're having to do that convergence specifically for that channel. Some more trends. 63% of companies will be increasing their digital marketing budgets this year. 33% of respondents say the customer experience is their major focus. I actually think that's a little bit low because I've seen numbers where it's upwards of 50-60% that say the customer experience is probably the biggest priority now besides integration. And then of course back to the mobile objectives, identify and track mobile specific KPIs. So, jumping into our success in financial services, we always like to put up a logo slide. And, Jahia has actually been around since 2002. And you'll see that most of these logos are actually European companies. And, one of the things that we're trying to do as the North American team is kind of to bring that business over here and expand our customer base and make sure that everybody knows what we're capable of. So, and we'll talk a little bit about some of these in more detail. So here are two case studies. So BMP Paribas, that is a partner extranet, basically, partner agent extranet. B4 Bank, that is an online-only bank. I want you guys to remember that concept. So B4 Bank doesn't have any physical banks. It's basically everything is conducted and transacted through the website. And if the website is down, essentially the bank is dead. So and they are completely on Jahia. Le Capital is another agent portal. So you're starting to hear things from me where it's not just about the marketing or the B2C side of the businesses. There's a lot of portals and intranets and extranets, which is something that our framework, addresses very well and doesn't run away from. Nationwide, that's auto insurance in the United States. So we have our first United States example. And Covea. Covea is an insurance company that has multiple brands. All of them are on Jahia. Here are three examples. So, multi-brand, multi-branding, multi-messaging, all facilitated through Jahia. So, I want to talk about why, essentially the convergence. I mean, why are they doing this on Jahia? Because it's all about a convergence. It's convergence of content and application and data. And what we want to kind of go through is a little bit of the history, what's happening now in these digital projects. So the first wave, essentially it was all about the CIO and getting up a website, some content, some digital asset management, but just having a presence on the internet. And then, of course, the second wave, the CMO started to come into presence and played a bigger role, because it wasn't just about having a web or internet presence. It was about, marketing and the right messaging and the right analysis around those messages. So the CMO kind of came to the forefront, and it was the position of power. Of course, all of that is now pivoting. It's not enough anymore, right? I mean, you have to address customer data. You have to address transactions and commerce and other types of activities. And then you have to bring in the applications and all the data. So what you're seeing now is a convergence. So it's not just a convergence of technology, but it's a convergence of the CIO and the CMO. And then, the latest swim lane here are all the other types of applications that you have to bring in, because let's face it, I mean, there's not a single stack that has everything that everybody needs, right? So you have to bring in all of the features and the functions from other types of software to bring about this fantastic experience for the customer, and to gather and retain and keep the customer loyal. So, as you guys know, this is the reality of the CMO's world. When you start to talk about all of the different types of technology within the MarTech stack, I mean, this is like thousands of software products. It's like, how do you put that together? How do you piece together a usable stack that's going to provide all of the valuable experience management and data management to satisfy your online goals or your digital goals? And then similarly for the CIO, it's not much better. It's a bunch of siloed systems and data, and like bringing all that together, will keep you up at night, basically. So what we're getting to is basically the need for a digital experience platform, something that has both a unified authoring experience on a unified back end, content, data, applications living together. And that's essentially what we're trying to bring to the table at Jahia. So here is our platform, and we'll spend a little bit of time on this. So Jahia, at its core, is the DX, the Digital Experience Manager, which is at the center of the, as I call this, the tambourine, because it's round and it makes great music. So DX, in a sense, is our core portal and CMS product, and that's the one that we have been building since 2002. And also, in retrospect, something to keep in mind is that all of our products are built in-house, homegrown. We don't have anything that we've bought through acquisition and have to piece together. So it's a very seamlessly integrated stack. So when we talk about DX, the core, portal, and CMS, next we bring in something called Marketing Factory. Marketing Factory was released last year, and it's our marketing automation. So think personalization and targeting and online campaign management. So it's basically, taking everything that DX is bringing to the table from an integration and a content management perspective, and then optimizing that. So bringing that personalized experience, tracking the right types of objectives and insights and all of that, and feeding into the engine to kind of really optimize the experience. And another product that we have is Form Factory, which facilitates drag and drop forms, and it's a very usable utility for people, especially in FSI, because there's a lot of online data collection and online approval and things like that. So Form Factory is a very usable product that obviously plugs into DX and works with Marketing Factory. Some of the other things we have in here, we talked about bringing in third-party data and software. So we have connectors out of the box that are supported by us to help facilitate that. We have the integration protocols that we'll talk about here in the next slide. Commerce Factory is the opportunity for you to bring in your commerce engine, and what we're doing on that front is we're sort of presenting a perspective on both the modules on front end for the store and the catalog, and then also, some ways to integrate. And obviously, if you're working with a partner that already is very good at specific commerce frameworks, we will work with them, and we're working with a number of partners in the market to kind of bring that unification of commerce into the stack. And we also have Workspace Factory, which is sort of a collaboration tool that enables you to create assets and content in an online fashion. So think Jive, Lithium. So that's another one of our products. So as I mentioned, all of the products built by us, works very well together, and essentially, gives you this type of uninterrupted delivery for the CIOs and the CMOs, the convergence of those guys or girls. We have all these other utilities and devices, such as our private app store, which is actually a private or a public app store. All of our modules that are created by us or created by our partners is on something called an app store, but you have the ability to have your own private app store within your instance, so you could actually make the sharing of functionality across different divisions, geographies easier. And then, of course, our studio is what really makes this thing hum, because the studio enables that flexibility on the front end and also facilitates the ease of integration. So the studio is, what makes it, why is B4 Bank online on our framework, online only? Because it happens through the stack, and not just FSI. When you think about some of our other clients like HomeAway and Europcar, I mean, all of that booking goes through Jaya. That is a total convergence of data and content and experience management, and not to mention, the European Parliament. They have 100 sites on our framework. So, as I've mentioned, a lot of past success stories, both at FSI and outside of it. And this is kind of like the big picture, the customer journey. So taking you through the physical and the digital touch points and that whole customer acquisition and advocacy lifeline, and you'll see there that between the physical and the digital, you have the legacy systems, you have, all of the apps, and you have the third-party integrations, and all of that coming in to the DX. One of the things you'll also see on this slide is Unomi, which is a customer data platform. And that's something I'm actually going to spend a bit of time toward the end of the presentation talking specifically about that, because that's another one of our differentiators. But just to keep in context, it's a customer data platform, but our marketing factory is actually built on top of it. So it's actually embedded within our stack and is used to do the data collection and the analysis. So one last slide to talk about the history. So, we're not a new startup. We've been around since 2002. As I've mentioned, very popular in Europe, trying to expand our presence here in North America. But you'll see we've been in the USA since 2008. We've got great customers here, such as Ben & Jerry's. I mentioned HomeAway before, a couple others, Abercrombie & Fitch. So, pretty horizontal, but it seems like a large percentage of our customers have been in FSI, and we've had a lot of success there. So CMO and CIO need to partner together to lead their digital transformation, and essentially they need to pick the digital experience platform that unifies all of this stuff: CMS, online marketing, commerce, DAM, and portal. And that's the value proposition that we're trying to bring to the table. And it's not just us, it's not just our customers. The analysts also are also, seeing the same thing. I mean, we are now back into the CMS wave for Forrester as of 2017. Gartner, some great quotes from Gartner: the agility and control for developers working with digital workers, and the authoring power for digital workers without depending on developers. So that's a pretty great set of messages where you're actually making both parties happy. And as far as Gartner is concerned, we are in their quadrant for horizontal portals as well. So, from an analyst perspective, you'll see both CMS and portal capabilities covered by, the two top analyst firms, in the world, I would imagine. So I'm going to go ahead and slow it down a little bit. And, we talked a little bit about our experience in FSI, why people come to Jaya, why they use Jaya, how they use Jaya. But one of the things that we also want to talk about is a real differentiator that we're addressing. And most of our competitors are actually not doing this. And this is, the whole concept around data privacy and data management. So, some of these pretty picture slides, there's real people behind every collected bit of data, and the way you deal with it defines you as a company. And most people think that data privacy is this. Most people assume data privacy is this, but in reality, it's not. And here's what it really looks like. I mean, you have, you as a end user are inviting companies into your home. But what you don't realize is they're bringing a whole party with them. They're bringing a whole bunch of other people that you weren't expecting, and unfortunately, that is what's happening. And essentially, if you've been reading the news lately, we're all just a few lines of code from liability. Just ask these guys. I mean, these are all examples of people that have had data leaks, data breaches, and theft. I mean, so it's happening. And what most companies think about from a data privacy perspective is essentially instituting a cookie policy, thinking that, okay, you've opted in, so you understand what's happening. But in reality, you don't, because what they're really doing is they're actually collecting the data, they're mining it, they're sending it to third parties, and they're selling it as data analysis. And the worst part about this is that you probably don't even know that this is happening. And then, of course, just kind of a quick blurb on some of the emerging regulations. So this is becoming real. It's not just happening in Europe, it's happening here as well. I mean, people are going to have to take responsibility for data, what they're managing, what they're collecting, and how they're treating it, basically. So wanted to come back onto the UNOMI thing. So what is UNOMI? So UNOMI is a project that was, basically started and created by Jaya, then donated back to Apache, keeping in line with our open source heritage and culture. So now other people can contribute to UNOMI. And as I mentioned, this is the underlying collection agent for our marketing factory. So it's basically, we're providing a standard here in terms, utilizing REST APIs to have this domain model and a reference implementation. We make sure that the standard is based on the real need. So what is happening in the marketplace? Why is this necessary? And it's also really designed for greatness. It's not just for CMS. It's designed to integrate with as many tools as possible. And some of the functionalities that we're actually tracking on UNOMI. We're doing the user tracking, the reporting, the A/B testing, the profiles, the personas, the segmentation, event tracking. So sort of a very complete data collection. And so just sort of a quick architecture view, you can see all of the different sources going into UNOMI, all of the, the different analytical things that are happening within UNOMI. The best and most important part about UNOMI is that the data resides where you want it to reside. It's not like collecting data and sending it back to, Salt Lake City or Mountain View, California. I mean, you control where that data is. It could sit next to your CMS server. It could sit in a data center. You completely control the ability to not cross country lines, for example. So it's a matter of collecting the data and keeping it where you want to not upset anybody or break any laws. And then also, it is the ability to manage this data. I mean, you have, a customer can call and say, what are you collecting on me? And then you could give them that information. You could then specifically stop collecting certain fields or delete the profile. Just control every event from a recording and a management perspective. So it's a very powerful tool and application that we've built that is now part of Apache. And, we're hoping to expand on that and have the community expand on that and turn it into something that's, very usable as a global entity. So I think that's it for me. I wanted to thank you for taking the time to hear about Jaya, about who we are, what we do within financial services, and we'll hope to have another conversation with you. Thank you very much.